here I forget in dispatch, here I call the action login user action. So this, now you can call the action and here pass the email password and navigate. And in auth action, after dispatch, in catch, now there is no use of set, simply pass the error from the dispatch. So in catch you can now pass as user login failure and the error message, and message simply you can pass error dot message. In case of here also, dispatch type is user registration failure and loading is false, and message is error dot message. You can console error, then check this messages come under the error. And auth action data is not defined because this is get data. I take variable as get data. So now another data here as a current user ID. Okay, now you can check, and if I log in, then you can see in local storage information is saved. Yes, this login functionality is working fine. And second one, if user is logged in and now it's go to dashboard, so one comment the dashboard from app.js and write the functionality. But in dashboard they get the information from on behalf of user ID. So for getting the information, I write action, and so copy the action from login and paste user action in paste in user action. Now I can change the variable name. First the write a comment, this is related to user details, so write set user detail action. And dispatch, there is no need of failure because first request, get the request, user set detail request, and loading is initially true. And here I get the information from user ID, and this import the Axios and paste URL. Information is stored in get data, and now there is no need of this. I also remove all the code here, simply dispatch the success action. And in getting the response or getting the information of user detail, there is no need of message, so simply pass the payload. And for catch, I simply get the information in the failure action type. Okay, now make a reducer, so I copy the initial code from auth reducer and paste here. This is the same, but here in initial state I add another key value pair, and the key is current user details, and initially I take as an array, empty array. And reducer, I copy this code so I can save the time. and action type, write a case for first. If user detail request, case for user details. And first case is user set details request. Simply return the previous state. This is the destructuring. Here I used 3 dot and loading is true. And the second one is for success. User set detail success. So now loading I get from the action, and current user details similarly I get from the action type or action in payload. And last case is for failure. In failure, simply pass the state and the action loading. Okay, and there is no need of, I simply passed false, there is no need of current user detail. And here is message type and message, because in failure you write in catch and as well as in when you comparing the value or validating the input field. So here I get message type. Now it's time for update user detail, case for update user details. First case when user update detail request, second one for success, and third one for the failure. Request code is same, returning state and loading, success, previous state and current user detail, and message type because I want to display message every time when the user update the field. And the third for state failure, pass message type and message. Third one is for deleting the account details or delete user account. So first this reducer is request for request, second for the success, and third for failure. If action type is failure request, there is no need to change, and success I also remove the information from local storage, and for success there is no need type of message and message type, simply current detail is null because I remove the value from store also. And for failure, write user action for update user detail action. In update I also validate input field. Here I also only validating 2 input field, but if you want to validate more than 2 like DOB, mobile number, then you can do. So here I simply show you how to validate your input field. I get username from payload and then form data. This is the come as an object like key and value pair. So write user update detail failure and pass same message. Second for request, if input field is valid then pass request. Third this is related to your post method. Here I simply pass the ID, and second argument I pass the information which I receive in payload.form data. Now I got the information in get data. Here update detail success and payload and data. Okay, I also pass the message type and message that your profile is updated, and for catch pass the failure action. Last is for delete your account. So this action type is related to your deleting your account. First action is dispatch account, delete account request, and here in try I simply use delete. Here put, I forgot to update in put in update action, sorry. Now there is no need to pass the information in argument because I simply delete on behalf of user ID. This is delete account request, and after deleting here I also check if I hit the delete button, but in response I get some another status. In that case I check. If I don't receive 200 status, then something wrong. In that case I also want to reflect the error to the user. Message type error, and message is related to your network, means like your server is not running or anything else, or you passing something different values. And last for the end, then if failure is not, then your response is success. Then so type your user detail action success action type, and after that I simply navigate to the login page, and here in catch you pass the failure action type. Now change in dashboard component. Here your code is also removed. There is no need of this function. And in use effect, in state I get the values as a key which I pass in store, like auth user detail and auth user. Here auth user, and for auth user detail I simply pass this one. I change the name, I change the reducer name in auth reducer, user reducer, sorry. So I want to name as set user detail reducer. Now this reducer is passed to the store as a root reducer, and key I name as a auth reducer detail, and value I pass this values. Now in dashboard I get the information is auth user detail, and I simply dispatch when this component is load. So I write in use effective guy. First I got the user ID from the auth user and current user ID, this is received from the store, and then dispatch the set user detail action. Here I simply pass the user ID, and this use effect is execute when your component is load. Here user is not defined because in navbar pass the auth user, and for username and email you got the information from the auth user details. And this array is related to a navbar because here you use, so unwanted code remove set user detail. Set user detail come from the context user detail user action, and in navbar remove this dispatch, and but before that call logout user. This functionality is not initially I'm not write no write the user action. Okay, first I also change in home.js component. Your dashboard and home.js is approx same. And comment the home in app.js. Now your home and dashboard navigation is working fine. And set user detail, but the information is not coming by so you can console the payload. Here you get the user ID, so there is an error related to a response. I think user reducer is working fine. Here is success. I passing the loading and current user detail. Payload, sorry, this is action. In reducer you got this value payload undefined. There is no in payload. Get it as 0. Okay, you don't respond, get the information, get the response. If you face some like error or anything error, then simply you can console. Here I pass the payload as user ID and get the information on behalf of email, not there is an ID. I get the information from on behalf of ID, so now it's working fine. If you stuck anywhere, then you can simply debug your code line by line. And now it's time for profile. For profile I write the scenarios with update in user action and user reducer. So simply call the functionality and remove unwanted code from the profile. There is no need of this error. And here as user I got the information as an object, so auth user detail from this store, and I also use as global variable of user ID, and this user ID I receive from the parameter or URL param. Then in submit there is no need of this extra line of code, so I can remove all the code and simply dispatch the action update user detail action. when submitting or hitting a button, then simply dispatch this function, and here I pass the argument user ID form data. I pass information this from the state, this is state, and then after there is no need of this is remove this function call. Here I remove, and use effect I simply dispatch the set user detail action, because when the profile component is load, then I want to get the information of all the user information. Pass the simply user ID, and this use effect is execute in every dispatch. And now I also validate this set user detail, that if I receive the current user detail, then I want to execute this effect, this set user detail inside this effect, and this user effect is executed when and every auth user detail. So now remove this extra code from your component. Set error status is not defined. Remove this one from delete. Here for error, I get the information from the auth user detail message type, and in return remove this and write auth user detail dot message. Now your profile is also working. And for delete, dispatch the action delete user detail action and pass the user ID, because you delete the user account on behalf of user ID, and also navigate, because after deleting the account I navigate to the login page. If I update the code, then this code is working fine, I think. Yes, your detail is saved. And if I log out, okay, then first user registration, logout, and last is for related to logout. Write logout action, write the first request, user logout request. There is no need of this on extra code, but I want try catch, so remove in this code, no need of if else. Simply pass the success dispatch action type, dispatch, then type is user logout success, and in success I also want loading as a false, and is logged in be false, current user ID is null, and last message type be success, okay, and the message be type your message that user is successfully logged out. And then payload, because I also want to navigate to the login page. User login failure for catch, and here I also want action type for message. This message, this action, message action is only work for which you are using, which you use this reducer, which type of use reducer. Like if I use auth reducer, then it is working for clear message inside this reducer only. Okay, I will show the scenarios where it occurred. And for reducer, write reducer related to logout, return message in the initial state, message type null and message be null, empty. Okay, for logout, call the action type logout user action and type pass the navigate only. Copy the code and write reducer logout. Logout request, then for logout success, and here I remove the information from local storage, then return this state, and also loading get from action payload or action loading, sorry. Then message type empty and message be empty. User logout failure. Okay, now if I inspect, it's working fine. This information is gone from your local storage. Okay, now it's time for register the user. If I uncomment, this functionality is coming from the previous code. Here you can check this code is also working fine because it's used the pure Redux in registration. Your profile is updated. Okay, now for register, use effect. Now time to remove first. Okay, use effect and then run. Call the dispatch. I think dispatch is not import. But before that, first I use the Redux-Thunk pattern. So remove all the code from register user. Like first I call the dispatch or message type from the Redux Store, state, then pass state auth user, and then dispatch, use dispatch, and here remove the try catch block because I simply call the dispatch, and before that I get the message, error message, and pass here also. And for submitting, after hit the submit button, dispatch the action register user, register user, this is come from register user action, and pass the information username, email, password, and form data as data. I'll log in test2, and if I delete, yes, successfully deleted. Here you check that this message is stay when you navigate the register or login. So to remove this message, use dispatch and clear message action, which I write in auth action and auth reducer. Now this is using this login also. Import the reset message and here also. Okay, now when I register the new user, you can check that after going to user login, this message is disappear. Okay, fine.